Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Circle of the World podcast, where we discuss Joe Abercrombie's First Law series. I am one of your hosts, Lord Chamberlain Jeffrey, and here are my co-hosts.
Archlector George.
And Harrison, the Adeptus Historical.
We continue our coverage of Last Argument of Kings, the third book in the original trilogy. And for this episode, we'll be covering Too Many Masters, Sweet Victory, and Rude Awakenings. So let's get started. As usual, everyone, it's probably boring the tits off you guys, but we want to thank you all for your support, as usual. Shout out the people that have helped out, right?
Whoop, whoop.
Whoop, whoop. If we can only do sound effects that they can hear. And and just remind you all to follow us on social media and our YouTube page. There might be a little surprise this weekend. We'll see. By this weekend or next couple days, we'll see. Depending how much time I have. Do I focus on work? Do I just focus on this?
Man, fuck work.
Do you guys have anything to say before we get going?
As of today, we're almost at 20,000 listens, so that's a big milestone for us. I know it's been a year, so it might not seem like that much, but considering the episode's like an hour long, I reckon that's pretty fucking good.
That's pretty, yeah.
We have done well.
Mm-hmm. Super proud of that. So thankful for everyone, except for all you Weirin lovers. I can't. I'm struggling still. I'm struggling.
When we get to the hero, Chef's gonna be like, I can't think Weirin's my favorite character.
Yeah, that's gonna be the fucking of it all. Once we get to the heroes, I'm like, man, this guy Weirin, he just has it. There's a panache about him. There's just something. I'm gonna have like selective amnesia over the past year. What the fuck? Anyway, so let's get going with our first chapter read through, and this one is Too Many Masters. We are starting off from the perspective of our boy Superior Glocta. Now he's walking through a shadowy place. What is it? It turns out it's a bank. It is the Bank of Valent and Balk, and he's commenting on how true power isn't in the ostentatious, like, what would you call it? Like jewelry, flamboyant.
Yeah, it's not flashy or anything.
Yeah, it's not flashy. It's some drab ass, motherfuckers dressed in gray clothes, some simple desk. There's no adornment, no nothing, right?
Yeah.
No, I love the fact that he thinks of a bank as like this place where there's just like people counting money all day. Like, oh, look at all this money.
money. It's like what was that? Dr. Scrooge parody with the ducks, Donald Duck, Mighty Ducks, DuckTales, right? And they had the rich DuckTales, and they had the rich uncle, and they're just diving in gold in a vault. When reality is just a bunch of people leafing through papers. That's really what power is. That's what a bank is.
Yes.
Yay, government.
Yay, government. Goofball. It's private banks. Damn it, Harrison! You're the Adeptus Historical. You're supposed to know this.
I'm just saying.
Actually, Adeptus Historical, why don't you give us some real-world comparisons to banks in, I guess you could say, Renaissance or feudal times? Go ahead. Mm-hmm.
What?
Oh, I thought you... Never mind, I thought you did some research on it. Sorry.
Here's the thing I find interesting.
Okay.
Is the fact that the way the bank works is very similar to how our government works, which is a whole bunch of people doing a whole bunch of paperwork all the fucking time. And we're like, man, that's the government right there. They must be important. And really, it's just a whole bunch of people doing a whole bunch of paperwork all the time. And it is very, it's very telling in this series.
And I like the way that Joe makes his comparison to religion again. He says there are the acolytes inducted into the lowest mysteries of the church. Like, it's this whole strange, mysterious organization that nobody really understands, like banks in the real world.
Yeah, and it's kind of weird. Banks are like, oh yeah, we'll give you money. And you're like,
where did it come from? Don't worry about it.
We'll just make more.
That's the government. That's not banks. Although the Federal Reserve is its own private bank. Conspiracy theories.
Wait a minute.
Oh my God, is Valent and Balk the Federal Reserve?
Valent Balk is the Reserve.
Valent and Balk is the Federal Reserve. George, do you guys have a Federal Reserve in the UK?
Yeah, it's called the Bank of England.
Wow, you guys
are
so
even more
unique.
blatant.
Yeah, they're like, whoa, whoopsie. Anyway.
At least I was like, oh, the National Treasury.
Belongs to you guys. Definitely to you guys, not to us. At all. No.
Yeah, absolutely. So the reason we find out, so Glockta, he walks up, he skips the queue, he skips the line.
I love he's like, I am crippled. Every time someone looks at
He
him.
doesn't even say I am the cripple. He just says I am crippled.
Right. And then when he gets to the front, and then they're like, "Who am I asking?" He's here for Malthus, and he's like, "Who shall I ask?" Is he's like, "The cripple. Who else?" And the guy's about to say, "I cannot simply say the cripple's here," but somebody else is like, You expected. Come with me." And then Glock's like, "Mm-hmm. That's right, bitches." He's all, highbrow. He's full of himself until goes through the door and he finds out he has to go through a shitload of steps, and he's like, "God damn it!"
I do love it. Cutting in line is.
It's
You
fantastic.
feel like scum, but then if you actually get to go first, you're like, I had the speed pass at Six Flags. Fuck you, peasant.
Yeah, exactly. And so the guy takes him to Malthus, the office of where Malthus resides. Do we know Malthus' first name?
I think it
It
is
might be
just.
his first name.
So he's just Malthus.
His name is Malthus Moneybags.
Yeah,
Money
sounds like,
bags.
sounds like you're about to go into a rap there.
Yeah, right. All right. So, so Glockta's led into Mr. Moneybags' office, and before he addresses Glockta, really, he's still, yes to this, paper, this paper, that. He's just going through papers. Says no, this one needs to be called in. Blah blah blah. Now, guy leaves. Now it's just Glockta and Malthus, and Malthus thanks him for answering so quickly. And Glockta's like, "Well, your no didn't really made it seem like I had a choice or anything." And Malthus says, "Okay, well, basically, once again, my employers are not too pleased with what you're investigating." And he goes, what offends them now?" And the investigation into the lineage of our new king, His August Majesty Giselle the First, in particular, your inquiries into the person of Carmi Dan Roth, the circumstances of her untimely demise, and the closeness of her friendship with our previous king, Gustav V. Do I come close enough to the point for your taste? Now, Glockta is obviously upset. He's like, I barely just launched this investigation. How do you know about this?
Like a couple of chapters ago. It's just like, oh the fuck.
What the fuck? And then he's like, and then Malthus says, again, I told you to assume that they know everything. It is no exaggeration. Even if you try to deceive them, just don't. Just don't. Just no.
And I like how, and no spoilers, but I love how Glockta thinks like, or says to Malthus, like, do they get their information through a crystal ball or a magic mirror? And I like that's kind of like a hidden double irony.
Yeah, that is pretty funny. I also like how there's this recurring theme. Each time somebody in a position of power is going through paperwork, like the character observing them is like, oh my god, I wonder what he's doing. He must be like he's like firing people, killing people,
crushing the hopes and dreams of a family.
Yeah, exactly.
What did he say in one instance? He was like, he said, did this paper put a wife and children out on the street or something like that?
Yeah.
Did it crush a merchant's life or put somebody on the street? Or was it just a receipt for 10 bits?
That's it. Yeah. And so then I enjoyed this part where Glockta says, he goes, well, believe me when I say that I have no interest really in where the king came from, but my boss, His Eminence, demanded it and is really excited and anticipating a report on my progress. So what the fuck do I tell him? And I like the description here where it says, Malthus stared back with a face full of sympathy, as much sympathy as one stone might have for another. And he says, my employers do not care what you tell him, provided that you obey them. And he does sympathize with Glockta. He knows that he's in a difficult position, but there is no choice. He could go to the Archlector and tell him the whole history of the involvement of Glockta and Valen and Balk and Malthus, and the whole the diamonds and the money and the Goska and all that stuff. And maybe His Eminence is more forgiving of divided loyalties than he appears to be, which definitely was a joke. Glockta was he said to his own in his internal monologue was like, if I did not know better, I might have almost taken that as a joke.
I think that isn't the case, really, because we know Malthus is like this fucking hard ass, absolutely no sense of humor at all. I reckon he just said that with no irony whatsoever.
I don't know. I think
That's funny.
a man that's stone cold, but he's under so much pressure, as we'll see. We had seen before, like slightly, and other instances that he there's a crack in the veneer, and I think
Well,
he
I feel like he.
what
I feel like he actually said it in kind of a like looking down the nose, like like it wasn't actually like a joke, but he did say it ironically, like oh
That's
yeah,
more
like
a threat.
yeah, yes, exactly.
I don't
We've gone very quickly from veiled threats to just outright. Yeah, you could, if you want, go back to him, but I don't think that will work out for you.
I think he's just being completely upfront and honest, because let's not forget, in the prior interaction, Glockta noted when that Malthus said, stop investigating, that Malthus had like a semblance of fear on his face, and that he was almost like beseeching Glockta in a way. I don't think he's looking down at his nose at Glockta. It's either all business, and maybe with Glockta, he does appreciate that Glockta's very like, get to the point. I'm not here for civilities or anything like that. So I think it's either ironically, but I don't think it's with like a snobbiness or a snottiness. I don't know if that's what you intended, Harrison, but that's how I inferred it. I'm sorry, but I think it's.
No, I don't mean snobbiness.
Okay.
Like what George said, like
Just
it
straight
went from like
up.
a failed threat,
Okay.
like a straight up, but also like he's being unironically ironic.
Ironic.
Well, you heard it here first, folks. Unironically ironic.
You can do it if you believe.
Yeah. Well, but I guess what leads to my point is also like this next part, right? Where Glockta says, they asked for favors when I signed the damn receipt. Now they make demands. Where does it end? And Malthus replies that it's not for him to say or for Glockta to ask. He looks at the door, leans across the desk, and speaks softly and low. And he says, but if my own experience is anything to go by, it will not end. My employers have paid, and they will always get what they have paid for, always. Now, I don't know how this came across in the audiobook, just because, again, I haven't been listening to the audiobooks just because life is crazy. But this reads to me as someone that isn't,
I mean,
he's probably.
I think the bank owns him.
Yeah.
Like they basically, he owes them something.
For all we know, Malthus probably bought a prostitute. She died, and now the bank. I don't know. Malthus is in. He's fucked. Malthus is fucked. I feel like Malthus is. We need a backstory on Malthus.
Actually,
that's what we need.
Okay, here's speculation.
Okay.
Malthus
Speculate.
is somebody who, judging by his position in the bank, and as seen in future, he's not just like a high up banker. He's like perhaps the banker man that handles a lot of the affairs for Valen and Bulk, because he does other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, I believe that he may have just worked there, and he's to the level now, and he has the know-how and the freedom to go around and kind of do his thing. He's in charge, but it's kind of like whenever you have been working at a company for like 20 years and you're a manager, and basically your whole life is that place. Yeah, you now that you know what everything is behind the curtain, oh, it fucked, but what else are you gonna do? So I'm just gonna stick with this job, and that's why he can show some sympathy, because he's like, listen, no, I get it. I've seen the situation like 1,000 times, so I know there is no way out of this. I don't think he's fucked. I think he's just been working there for so long. He's dedicated. He works with Valen and Bulk.
Okay. That's the more likely scenario. He's probably seen thousands of this kind of thing. These kind of things like happen. Just the same situation.
He does say if my own experience is anything.
See, that's why
not just in my experience. Like
right.
It's like that very specific wording.
Although, what is his job? What if Malthus is just manipulating as much as he can? Like, oh no, I totally get it. I understand. He's like a. I don't know.
I mean, he's never we've never gotten the sense of him having to manipulate. He's been very upfront. Right?
Playing the devil's advocate.
No, yes, we know. Well, anyway, so Glockta is not too happy about this, but he goes, well, all right, I guess that's fine. And I like this part where he goes, he's about to get up and he goes, "Is there anything else, or do your employers merely just wish me to defy the most powerful man in the union?" And Malthus, without missing a beat, just says, "They wish you also to watch him."
I love the delivery in the audiobook for the next line as well. They wish me to what?
Malika, what? Yeah. And Malthus explains that there's been a lot of change of late. Change means new opportunities, but also too much change is bad for business. Employers want some stability, because it's in everybody's best interest. They're satisfied with the current situation, but they're concerned that some people within the government are not so satisfied, aka His Eminence. And keep an eye on him, what he's planning, and specifically, what the fuck is he doing in the university? And Glocta is like, "Is that all?" And the irony was wasted on Malthus. It was like, "Well, for now, but it might be best if you were to leave by the back door. And my employers are going to expect news within the week, so bye." And it's like,
Can you
oh,
imagine
God.
if the arch lecturer, somebody watching Glockter, and he sees him go into the bank and never come out?
Did the cripple fall down the stairs?
Yeah.
So, and then I like this last paragraph where he goes, "No one knows anything without being told." Who told? Like, how did they know? They knew that he was looking to Prince Reynald's death against the Archlector's orders, and now that he's looking, the whole, like, Our Majesty's mother. What the fuck's going on? Who told? Who asked the questions about the prince and about the king? Whose first loyalty is to money? Who's already given me up once to save his skin? Glocta pauses and frowns. Oh dear, oh dear.
Ooh, he's figured it out.
He's figured it out, and that's the end of the chapter. That's all we get. We don't get a name. We get an inkling. I kind of want to talk about it, but I really don't want to talk about it. Not just
Not
yet.
yet.
Not yet.
I mean, it would be disingenuous
It would be.
for us
You're
to
right.
try and guess when we know who it is.
Right. Exactly. But that's the end of the chapter. What do you guys think of that chapter? How would you rate it?
I want to give this one a 4 and a knuckle.
Okay.
It's short. It's quite funny, and you don't get a huge amount of character at all. It's just this interaction where it's setting up the next part of Glockter's story with a bit of comedy from Malthus there. Funnily enough,
Ironic comedy.
Double ironic comedy there.
Harrison.
I like. There's some like if you know the whole plot, it's very interesting to see how it plays out. Like with this in the context of the story. But I would say a 3 out of 9. It's not like a bad. It's not like one of those. It's not like a 1 or a 2. I don't think, because it definitely does move the story forward, and it thickens the plot, and it it is, as many of the chapters are, pretty funny. But it's just there's just not much here overall.
Yeah. I'm struggling between a 3 and a 4, to be honest.
Well, there's a simple solution you're not seeing.
Oh, right. 3 and a knuckle. Alrighty then. So real quick aside, have we ever given out a 1 or a 2? I don't think anyone of us has, right?
We have. I've given out a 2.
You given a 2? How dare you?
I've given a 2. I think a couple times.
Oh, Harris.
You've given out a 2 once.
Was Weirin involved?
On a really short chapter.
Was Weirin involved? No, I'm kidding. Okay, thank you for correcting me. Again, as you guys said, short chapter. In a way, it did advance the plot by Glocta's his machinations coming to the forefront. Not necessarily coming to the forefront, but like his antagonists that we don't know who they are yet. They're aware of it already, and so now Glocta has to look inward as to how is he constantly either not necessarily being betrayed, but how are his activities being discovered. So that's like that. There's that intrigue there, and again, like you guys said, the funny, like quick-witted comedy between him and Malthus, and it's not necessarily like they're both being witty. There's almost like Glocta kind of just throwing a joke and it's hitting a brick wall kind of thing. And maybe the brick wall says like a quick little but other than that, that's about it. But it's like, yeah, I just not a lot. It's an important piece of the puzzle in terms of Glocta's arc, but it doesn't really drive much forward except for, giving us a little tidbit that, hey, someone's talking, and that's about it. So, 3 and a knuckle for me. Go ahead, George.
I just want to, just before we move on as well, I want to point out the that little bit with the receipts as well when he says, "Well, yes, these ones, yeah. All of these go to Tarlin's, which is just after a significant event with somebody from Tarlin's, and somebody that we don't know about yet is just a little detail there.
Nice. It's kind of similar to whenever Joe mentioned Monza inside of the previous book. There's just Joe definitely has little things laid out. Maybe not for the whole story, but he definitely has ideas already working.
Yeah, that's very true because it's misspelled Mercado. Remember?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's true. Yeah. So he knew what kind of person.
Just
didn't have it all worked out yet.
Alrighty. Well, that's the first chapter read through done. Thank you, gents. Georgie, as you know, next segment is Best Meme of the Week. Would you like to take it away?
Yep. Just give me a sec. We've got a user on Reddit, Secret Maximum 6350. And I love these long auto-generated names. They're brilliant. And it's that scene in...
Oh!
It's actually...
I didn't see it before. That's hilarious.
I think it's a bit from The Office, and it's got fucking Ahmed from...
No, that's Community.
No, is it from Community?
It's Community.
The whole thing?
Yeah.
Yes, it is from Community.
I don't think I've seen that episode. Yeah, but he's just being the third wheel, and he's sat there, and it's Logan Farrell shagging in the fucking tent or whatever. And I was just sat there like, oh god.
Yeah,
there's been a lot of these lately. The single frame fucking I think they're brilliant.
I like the.
That will be in the description.
I like the headline. It says, "Got to stay warm in the fields of the Westworld somehow."
It's just Al being all jealous. Those savages.
Being angry and then crying himself to sleep while Logan's pounding away. Oh God. Oh Lord. Thank you, George, and thank you. What was it, Sweet Maximus? Whatever it was.
Sweet Maximum 6350.
Yeah, you've made it onto the leaderboard, Sweet Maximum 6350.
Look at you. Ladies and gentlemen, you couldn't hear it, but Harrison clicked the applause effect. So,
applaud.
Applaud. All right, so we'll move on to our next chapter read through, which is Sweet Victory, and we start off from the perspective of Lord Maszy West, and he's on his horsey, staring at the valley.
Yeah, this is like a brutal scene too. Like he's approaching the battlefield whenever they charged up, and they won. The Union won the charge, and they broke Bethod's lines, and his troops they did like turn around, and he did have some reserves there ready to face the oncoming charge, but it wasn't enough, and not in time, and probably just not the right troops. But it was enough to give heavy casualties to the front ranks of the cavalry. But by the time that first little bout was over, Bethod's flank was completely open and his troops started routing. And of course, that was about the same time that the Bloody Nine started going crazy inside the fortress. So, yay, they won. But Jeff said horsey, and he's approaching this terrible, gruesome scene of men in. But I like how Paulder's basically giving him the breakdown, like, oh, this is what happened. Paulder's very much
he's happy,
yeah,
right?
He's very happy.
And he's sucking up, right? Isn't he?
Yeah, he's like, oh, well, no, an excellent decision, Lord Maszy. Like, I'm completely off guard, man.
Bethod's army has crushed. Yeah, crushed. He's positively jizzing himself in front of Lord Marshal West at this point.
Congratulations, my Lord Marshal.
And then he's like, you have well and truly avenged the death of Crown Prince Ladislaw today, Lord Marshal.
Oh, yeah. And West is like, yeah, the truly avenged, yeah. I'm ready. Let's keep moving on. And Polder keeps going. A master stroke to use our Northmen as decoys.
It wasn't even his idea.
Yeah. But
um,
can we
I,
go
I
ahead?
just like how Polder, is giving him these numbers and congratulating him and blah 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 blah. Not to say that Polder doesn't like feel any guilt for men dying, but like he's been inside of that level of command for quite some time, and so like he's very abject and is very he's not empathetic towards all the people who lost their lives. He's just very like, this is what happened. These are the men who died. We have whatever. Let's move on.
Which you
And
gotta be. You gotta be as
which
a
you
leader.
you do have to be to for the most part. But West is like, oh my god, what have I done? His guilt conscious is like back up to 100%, and he's like, oh, all these people who died. Oh, it's all my fault. Oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that.
Right, which is understandable. I mean, you don't want people to die. You don't want your own men to die. At the same time, this isn't the great charge and Return of the King and Lord of the Rings, whatever. Where you know what I mean? Like people die in a charge because it's a charge,
Yeah,
especially the front the guys in the front. I mean, if Bethod's forces, his reserves had turned around, at least got up a couple spears. I know at least 3 horses died. I know that.
At least 3.
At least
At
3.
least.
At
Too
least
many.
3.
Well,
Too many for me.
wow.
Too many for
Dead-
me. I love horses. Fuck me. So, and can we talk about real quick? I know we gotta get through more of this, but the fact that we know for 3 books, right? All we've heard about is how good Bethod is, right? In terms of being a warlord, a general, field commander, whatever you want to call it. So we can talk about how much he hates Logan. And then obviously Crummicky is not too far down that list, and Black Dow and everything. That he was so focused that I don't know if he had Karib only looking at that fortress and not looking, not scanning the horizon in a 360-degree field of vision kind of thing, but that he didn't see the Union coming. It does speak to Bethod's myopic focus there, where it
Definitely.
bit his ass. It bit him in the ass.
I know
I mean,
I'm always
he saw them coming soon enough to get the fuck out of there, though. Apparently.
Yeah, he did. He was just like, "Oh shit, we out. Bye."
It's such an interesting aspect. I'm always a pro Bethod. Bethod did nothing wrong, but
I'm pro Bethod. I'm pro Bethod too, baby.
Bethod, yeah, he has to like focus on it, but to be honest, he doesn't have much choice in terms of like chasing after them and crushing the Northmen, because a Northman's army biggest weakness is his internal politics, and his men are like, oh, 3 trees, we're gonna go over there, and then they're like, oh, the Bloody Nine, we're gonna go join that guy because we don't like you either, Bethod, and they're just fucking doing whatever the hell they want. He has to enforce that he is still in charge of the North and that they need to follow him, as much as a lot of them don't want to. So he doesn't have a choice but to follow them. In terms of the Long Eye, obviously, there has to be a certain amount of plot convenience, but the other part of it is the fact that they didn't follow them for about 2 weeks, and then it took them probably it took them less than a week to get there, because they took, what am I trying to say? West took only cavalry, basically. He took infantry, but like he said, I'm taking Polder's cavalry, and Croy, you're gonna stay down here. So he took, for the most part, very mobile troops, probably his best, quickest troops, and he got up there probably a lot faster than Bethod would have thought he could have. And after like 2 weeks, and they started fighting, then he thought, the Union's not coming. They're not gonna make it up here. So whenever he did see them last minute, he still had enough time to leave, but knew his army was lost because they were trapped in the valley.
And I also want to point out as well that Polder says that the reason why the attack was so successful is because Bethod's main and best troops were already in the fortress or attacking the fortress.
Yeah.
So if they had come 2 or 3 days earlier, when it was only the Shankar or the Krenner bastards attacking, then all the Carls would have been there.
Yeah, and they may not have, with the troops that, after running, because West had to go up there quick as fuck. Yeah, he got up there fast, but his troops were also worn down, and they don't have the numbers. Half the army's back with Corps. They've already lost a lot of troops. Their numbers are probably not that much better than Bethod's at this point. And
Really?
George is right. I mean, they definitely have the numbers, but I just don't think it's not like it was originally, right? Whenever they were fighting at Dumbreck, Croy's half of the army was still bigger than Bethod's group. But then they had the big fight, and they lost a whole bunch of men, and then they had to deal with the siege, and then they fought him a couple more times, like in small skirmishes, trying to get up into the north, and then he had to leave half the army back with Croy, and then they went all the way up to the north. They might have lost some men doing that, or just by disease and whatnot. And yeah, he still has the numbers probably, but not by much. Not like he did originally. Not like at Dumbreck.
Well, but you said you said more than once that he had to leave the infantry behind. But the previous episode
No, not all the infantry. Like as
I
Polder says, he brings up they're waiting for their infantry to
right.
deploy.
I thought Croy was with them.
No. Croy. He told Croy to stay back behind.
Remember, he kind of like finessed it so that they both think that they're getting like they're both being relegated, whereas they're both, he's keeping them both in check by saying, Croy's staying behind because you can't be trusted, but you're coming with me because you can't be trusted.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. But I think George is right. Like, if they came earlier, it's true. They probably still would have won because Betha would have been hemmed in, but it would have been way bloodier. In this case, they lost quite a few. They lost a good amount of men, but in one charge, they were able to beat him. So it actually was probably optimal that he came at this time by luck.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Cool. Well, thank you for that quick aside, Harrison.
And George.
And George.
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry. Thank you guys. And then Polder, West asked him if Bethod was one of the prisoners that were taken. Polder couldn't say, isn't so sure. It might be a prisoner of the North or the Northmen. And if that's the case, woo-hoo, they get the bloody cross on them. That's what these savages do. And at some point, West is like, cool. Yeah, let's just be gracious in victory if we could. Thanks. And and West decides to, walk up to the fortress. So he gets off his horsey. Pike follows him, and as West is, walking through the carnage, and then there's spots of like serenity, and a pot, still being cooked on the campfire, bedrolls nicely folded, rolled up, whatever. As they're walking, he comes across a Union officer kneeling in the mud, cradling another one in his arms. And West, he recognizes them. The one on his knees was Lieutenant Brent, and the one lying limp was Lieutenant Casper.
Oh,
Good Lord! And West wanted to walk away, but he forced himself to walk towards them. Brent looks up, and he just says, "An arrow. Just a stray. He never even drew his sword. Bad luck! Bad luck!"
I do like how much later on a certain character says, like they lost their best friend this day, and that he was the best man that he ever knew. And judging by the way Casper was, we kind of talked about him a lot more in the Blade itself, not really in the past couple books, but like he got along with everybody, and like his wealth did not go to his head, unlike it does for a lot of noblemen. He was just like, oh yeah, no worries. He was friends with Brent. He was friends with West. He was friends with Giselle. He didn't care. Everyone, who cares? It's just money. So it's kind of sad.
Yeah, and West couldn't deal with it. Like he really didn't know what to think and feel. He did his very best not to dwell on the fact from the book. It says that had he not ordered the charge, one of the most pleasant and inoffensive men of his acquaintance would still be alive. Yeah, because you remember how many times, like, you remember when the first book, when every time, like, either West or Giselle kind of flips her shit at the card table, Casper's the one like, hey, guys, let's
chill out.
Let's get more drinks.
Let's just drink some more. Why? What's the beef, man? What's the beef?
I imagine, like, if he is, don't want to get too far into spoilers here, but if he was around in later events, like, he actually probably wouldn't have been one of the cool heads in a lot of these situations, and he probably would have been a very reasonable, good person to have around for, an honest, well thought out opinion.
Yep.
So.
I agree.
What if Casper doesn't die?
What if Casper doesn't die? That's a new YouTube video, baby. Whoa, shit.
It's not. It's not. But maybe it will be.
It will be.
Put it away.
Anyway.
But maybe.
But maybe. Anyway, so they walk away. They keep walking, and then they finally kind of get a good look at the fortress. And Pike is like, he says, they held out for 7 days, and that's, yeah, I guess. And then they get to the gate, and they see 3 shapes, and and they realize, oh, their bodies dangling. Huh, interesting. And there's a figure right near them, and that figure turns around, and who else is it? But it's Black Dow, and he goes, well, if it ain't Furious, what's going on? You're a little slow there, but you always were slow, weren't you, buddy?
He's fucking crazy, right? He's just like mad with bloodlust. He's like, finally we won.
yeah. He's happy that he laughs that like West is the chief. And he's like, you know what? I like that. It's great. And by the way, meet my friends. This one here is Krendel Goring, far from Bethod. Fuck him. This guy here is Whitesides. Fuck him. And this guy here is Littlebone. Fuck him. Oh man. So and West, he sees Crummick, he fail again. There's a little joke about there's no reason to not hang a man when he's dead. We should just do it for any reason. That's what they all say. And West says, "Who's they?" And Crummick is just them. And he's like,
Yes.
all right.
They surely are a bloodthirsty crowd.
Yep.
I love Crowing. Like they say, you can see all the beauty of the world in the way of hangman swings. What the fuck, Crowing? What the fuck does that even mean?
Gotta love Crummick, don't we? And then we switch perspective here, and it's Dogman. He's getting good and drunk now because Grimm's gotta do some sewing here. He's gotta stitch his wound in his arm, and Dogman is not taking it too well. West walks up to him, and they're talking. Wow, better late than never. Great. And he goes, West asks him, "Hey, are you all right?" And Dogman replies, "Well, Toll's dead." And West, from Dogman's perspective, looks like West is devastated on this end. Dead. West stared at him. How? And Dogman, he doesn't know what to say. He says, "It's a battle, isn't it? Dead men, the norm here. What the fuck? I don't know."
Point of the fucking exercise, isn't it?
So. So he's, they talk about Toll a little bit. Grim says, "Hey, try to move your fingers." Dogman tries, and he does. So that means his nerves are okay, I guess. And excuse me, give me 1 second. Oh, and then West asks Dogman, "Do you have Bethod?" Dogman goes, "No, don't you?" And obviously West says, "No, I have a shitload of prisoners, but he's not one of them." He's like, "God damn it! This motherfucker is probably writing for Carleon, getting more allies, doing all this. Of course, can't be easier. It just can't be easy." And then Dogman's like, "Fine. But he asks West to help him up because he's got a friend to bury." And then, well, we change perspectives, and now guess whose perspective we're looking at this from? Guess who? Guess motherfucking who? No one else but Logan Ninefingers.
Guilty bastard himself.
I don't want to derail us too much, but I do like how Pacey does the voice for Dogman when he's drunk and sad, because he sounds exactly like somebody else later on. I think those of you Keen-Eyed viewers will know who I'm talking about whenever that character is drunk. It's perfect. Yeah, it's excellent. It's the same way they sound when they're sad. It's just a nice little touch, because normally he doesn't sound exactly like that character, but in this case he does, and it's just a nice touch that they give for later on too.
Is that who
no? I'm talking about Rika.
Oh, what? That's okay. Right, I was confused for a second, but okay.
And also, as a side note, before we get too far, is that Polder says they have 5,000 prisoners, and the Dogman states here that he has an assload of prisoners too. So if you think about it, judging by Bethought's force of like 10,000, and he brought up into the high places, he actually didn't lose that many.
I mean, that's just the prisoners.
That's
That's
true. I know, but like, yeah, that's just the prisoners. But no, what I mean is he lost his army, but like in terms of the death, he didn't lose that many. Because if Dogman has like maybe 1,000 or so, and then he has 1,000, I mean, you would think that with them being trapped in, they would have been able to kill more. Perhaps West should have just killed all of them.
Right. Okay. Okay. Gotcha. Um. Okay. Well, thank you for that, Harrison and Georgie. So we're at Logan's perspective, and everyone is, burying their own, but there's a big crowd for Tall Duru's burial. He was well loved, well liked throughout the North, well respected. Uh, there's a large space gap, we could say, around Logan. Kind of makes sense after his little escapade in the last chapter. um, and Dogman, he speaks up like, "Who wants to speak?" And from the audiobook, I'm assuming he's drunk. Harrison, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. He asks again who wants to speak because no one kind of like says anything, and then guess who the fuck decides to speak? My boy Black Dow. Guess it best be fucking me then, eh? And then he steps forward, and I love this.
what a speech.
Don't you? It's not even that long, right? But don't you love it, guys?
It's
Oh,
probably,
wonderful.
I like it better than Grimm's speech, to be honest.
Can I do it, or does somebody else want to do it?
Go for it.
You
All
go
right.
ahead, man.
Blacked out goes. Told Duru Thunderhead. Back to the mud. The dead know we didn't always see things the same way, me and him. Didn't often agree on nothing, but maybe that was my fault, as I'm a contrary bastard at the best of times. I regret it now, I reckon. Now it's too late. Told Duru. Every man in the north knew his name, and every man said it with respect, even his enemies. He was the sort of man that gave you hope, I reckon. That gave you hope. You want strength, do you? You want courage. You want things done right and proper, the old way? There you go. Told Duru Thunderhead. Look no fucking further. I'm less now that he's gone, and so are all of you. Clap, clap, clap.
And you don't know because you read the audiobook or listened to the audiobook, Jeff, but the way Pacey delivers his speech is perfect because Black Dow's voice, and one of the only times we ever hear it,
Does it crack?
Yes! It cracks.
Oh, I need to hear it. I need to hear it.
He says he's the sort of the man that gave you hope, I reckon. That gave you hope. And then he kind of regains himself.
Oh my god, I feel
And
like
he says, and so all of you. And he sounds like he's like walking away too. He's
you-
already walking away.
you're
It's
killing
perfect.
me.
He
Harrison,
puts
you're
his
killing me.
performance into that shit. Am I right,
Oh
George?
my
Oh
god.
yeah, that's definitely one of the best performances in.
Oh fuck me now. I feel like I
Especially
just
out of
did that
Black
whole.
Dow.
I feel like I just did that disservice. Fuck me. Oh my god. I had to listen to it. Oh my. And well, after that, Dow walks away, and with his head down. Ugh, god damn it. And Dogman repeats it. We're all less. And good words. Everyone, West, even Pike, Shivers, and Grim, they're all broken up. Logan's noticing. And Logan wants to feel the way that they did. He wanted to cry for the death of a good man, for the death of a good friend. The friend that the minute Logan walked into the vicinity of the Northmen after what, a year, he's the one told the one that says, "Is that fucking Logan?" And he hugs him. He's like, "The boys are gonna shit, bro." And Logan can't. He doesn't. And he was the Bloody Nine. And however he twisted and squirmed and wished he was someone else, there was no escaping it. Logan wanted to care, but the Bloody Nine cares for nothing. It's cocksucker.
Oof! What a gut punch.
And that is the end of this chapter. Gentlemen, how do you rate that? My lord.
I think I'm gonna rate this a 7 and a knuckle. It's like the Black Dow speech really kicks us up really high, especially in the audiobook version. It's interesting to see how Wes is handling, his really first command decision on that level where it's all on him. It's a very human thing, and how he appears to others like, oh no, I'm so heartbroken, but in reality, he's just like still in shock that he made the decision, and he probably feels like maybe if I had gotten here sooner, then Taldaru would be alive. No doubt, he feels that way. So, it's interesting from that character perspective. The Black Dove speech is great. It's sad to see Dogman all torn up about it because he's like Wes. He's just more vocal about it, and he's more like, I guess he's just more honest about it almost.
Right.
But then it also wraps up in this very unique way because you're right. Everybody is like, "Oh, I'm so sad. This sucks," and it really is sad that Taldaru died. And Logan is the one who did it, but Logan falls back into his old ways and is like, "No, I can't be a pussy." And
Well, I don't know if it's that. I just think he doesn't have the ability to feel. Like, is what he's saying. He doesn't know. He feels shame. He can't look anybody in the eye. Remember that in that description, but he can't bring himself to shed a tear. I think.
Right, but I think if it ended on Logan wanted to care but couldn't, that'd be different. In this case, he said Logan wanted to care, but the Bloody Nine cares for nothing, and he made the distinction that that basically if he wants to care, but it's almost like the Bloody Nine is still in charge. But we know obviously that they're not exactly so defined as we may think they are. It's very gray. I'm not saying absolutely he doesn't.
I hear you.
I
hear you.
It's just.
I think you're right, Harrison. It's like he's trying to hold on to his reputation, isn't he? Really, he's going. He can't just break down crying because he's the Bloody Knight. What would everybody think?
Right, because the bloody, that alone is probably keeping him alive from a lot of people.
Instead of him just giving in to his feeling and not, he's being toxic right now.
So he is extremely toxic.
But self-preservation's always been Logan's number one priority, which we all get from the whole "still alive" mantra that he. Okay,
yes.
All right, George.
I'm gonna go with a 7, just a little bit lower, because I really really do enjoy this, and I love the bit with West. I love how West is so conflicted about what he's done. He knows he has to be ruthless, but he, at the same time, just kind of can't really square what's really going on. Especially when he sees Casper and he sees the look on his face, and he's like, he almost wanted to take it up on it. He's like, what do you do? What do you mean by that?
The fuck you looking at me like that for?
Yeah. And it's and obviously the speech is fucking heartbreaking, especially coming from Black Dove. It's like the hardest bastard in the universe.
Yep.
So yeah.
I'm gonna have to give it an 8. I'm sorry, I'm going sequential here. I fucking
there's nothing wrong with your number, bro.
Whatever.
Tell me why. Tell me why.
I mean, obviously, Wes seeing the fruits of his labor, his decision of he's got that victory that he was looking for, that he felt he needed to rush over there and save his northern friends, but cost him a longtime Union friend, one that he came up with, and came up with in the army, but that he knew for a good amount of time, it seems like, and and all the other not his soldiers under his care, his command. Then we have Dogman, who he's getting well and drunk for the stitching, but obviously also getting well and drunk because he has to bury fucking Taldaru. And then do I really need to say it? Like Dow of all people, just broken, just shredded because of having to bury Taldaru. We remember our first introduction to Dow was him bitching with Taldaru. They were just at each other's throats, but you knew that it was like that love-hate relationship. And now one of them has to go. And then Logan just being present for it all and feeling the shame of like, I feel like I remember what I did, but I'm not too sure, but I can guess, and I feel like I'd guess right. And I want to cry, but do I really want to cry? Just, oh, you son of a bitch! So, 8 out of 9 fingers from me.
Well said, Joe. Well said.
Thank
Good
you.
words.
Good words. Good words. So we'll move on to our next segment, which is our character spot. You want to take it away?
Yeah, our character spot is.
Who else?
We've been saving him, but Caspa. We did told her last time. The other casualty in this battle is Caspa. We kind of mentioned it before. I mean, honestly, he's like he's just an upstanding guy. Like, you kind of don't appreciate him whenever you read the Blade itself, or before they're hanged, or even this book, because you don't realize exactly how human everybody else is, and what assholes everyone else is until, like, as you go through the story. So whenever you, like, read the whole series, and you see all these people and how they act, and you see Caspa, Caspa just being a nice, normal guy who tries to just live his life. He doesn't care about the wealth that much. He's just like, yeah. It's sad to see somebody that normal and that kind die. Just
Yeah.
I mean, he's just your bro, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's such a
Everybody
bro.
knows a guy like this. He's always trying to de-escalate. He's always keeping things civil, and he's always got a joke and a laugh and a drink for you.
Yeah, he was Brent's
he
best
deserves to
friend.
go like that.
Casper. How many times have we seen when Giselle lost his shit over Artie, and Casper's like, "Dude, what's going on, man? Just have a shot. Let's just take it easy." Dude.
Yeah, he's just a dude, bro. He's literally like that rich best friend that you have that, like, yeah, it's kind of annoying he's rich, but, like, he doesn't, like, smother it in your face at all, and he's just like, oh yeah, no, you know what, I'll cheer you up, I'll take you out to town tonight. No, it's on me, no, I mean, it's not because of that, it's not because of the money, it's because you need to have a good time, you need to relax, like, he's the guy, Everybody else inside that group, as, Jalen Orm's not the smartest guy, West has some serious anger issues, Luthar is a prick, Brent is like some, like, little rascal. He's like, oh, I'm gonna be important. And Caspa's just the guy. He's the glue. He's the glue.
And now, the glue is gone.
At least no more horses left.
No more horses. Rest in peace, Caspa. Rest in peace. Hold on for a second, guys. I just needed to turn on the light. Okay. So, all right, well, let's move on to our third chapter read-through, our final chapter read-through, which is Rude Awakenings. And it's Giselle, his perspective. He's smiling when he's waking up. He's done with the whole crazy mission out on the western edge of the world to find the seed. He's back in Adua, and he's going to be back in Artie's arms. He's going to be so happy. And then there's, like, a knocking, and he kind of opens his eyes, and someone's hissing at him from, like, across the room, and he looks, and he sees Teresa's face in between the bed curtains, who's just glaring at him, like, hello, open the door. Just, I was like, oh, fuck, this is my life. That's right.
I love it because everybody's had that, right, where you wake up from a dream and you have a really nice dream and you wake up and you're like, it's a Saturday or something, and it's not, and it's Monday, and it's after.
Yep.
Yeah, I absolutely love, this is actually one of my favorite, like, descriptions inside of the whole series, is whenever the royal bedchamber had become a battlefield. The border watched with iron determination. Was an invisible line between the door and the fireplace, which Giselle crossed at his peril. The far side of the room was Styrian territory, and the mighty bed itself was Teresa's strongest citadel. Its defenses apparently impregnable, which is a keen choice of words. On the second night of their marriage, hoping to perhaps that there had been some kind of misunderstanding on the first, he had mounted a half-hearted assault, which had left him with a bloody nose, and since then had settled in hopelessly for a long, fruitless siege.
Especially just coming out of an actual siege. Like, it's very melodramatic of it, isn't it?
It's hilarious.
It's such a Giselle way to turn, like, just a normal and mundane, like, look or event into something so dramatic. He does that with people's faces, too, all the time. It's just such an in-character thing for him to do.
It's so good. Fucking love it. Giselle's like, you're not getting in between these legs, you fucker.
You peasant!
Yeah, filthy blooded animals. Like, okay. And I like how even they talk about Giselle mentions like how even Therese's ladies in waiting, especially the Countess Chalere, she's
Yeah.
she she's she treats him with just as much contempt, and he's like, "This bitch is just a maid." So she yells at him to get the door, and Giselle goes, "Fine," and he, shuffles over there in his blankie, probably.
Nothing good comes from town.
Yeah, nothing good. Opens the door, and it's Bremer Dan Gorse, and he goes, "What's up, Bremer?" And Bremer goes, "The Gurkish have invaded Middleland." It's like, what?
Lord,
Dun, dun.
Your Majesty, the Gurkhas have invaded Middleland.
Oh, and then we get a quick cut, and it's Pharaoh. Pharaoh wakes up now. She wakes up from whatever position she was sleeping in, because apparently Pharaoh doesn't like to sleep. Wakes up in a fighting stance. And then there's nothing around there. She's like, "Oh, right, I can sleep like a normal human being." And then she hears voices behind his door. She hears Baez and Yoe. Yoe has returned, and they're talking. And basically, they're talking about the Gurkish. Like, where have they landed? They've landed on the empty beaches of the southwestern tip of Middleland, near to Keln. Harrison, would you like to walk us through this little tidbit right here?
Well, it kind of is. There's maps out there you guys can look at, and I don't mean to like defer to that immediately, but truthfully, it's hard to like visualize these things without a map, or describe it. They describe it as they say in the book, the southwestern part. So, we know where the Brock's lands are now, because right after this he says, "Did Lord Brock not see it?" Which means he is in that region,
right?
And probably owns a substantial amount of land, judging by Lord Brock's power,
right? Definitely like runs a port too, at least.
Yes.
Some kind of powerful guy has water access.
And even though we never go into Keln is frequently mentioned as a large city, and Keln is probably also Brock's like main city, like his residence. Like how Aju was for the king and whatnot.
Right.
And it's probably, with Keln being such a popular large city that's often mentioned in the series, it would explain why the Brock's lands, they go together. He's powerful because there's a city there. It's all powerful, and he owns a lot of land, and vice versa. So it's just some little lore tidbits that's where it's at. If you're gonna look at the map and Keln is not in the southwest corner of Bitterland, it's incorrect. He then goes on to mention how they have brought a ton of troops, that only the Vanguard have landed, about 5 legions, and that they're just that's it, and that there is more and more coming, thousands, which this is just an appetizer, but we know that there is going to be like 500,000 Gurkish of all different kinds going to be coming onto Midderland, and they're coming from all over. As discussed previously, the Gurkish kind of run their empire like Persia did back in the day of our world. So they have a whole bunch of like auxiliaries from different territories and stuff, and they kind of have to because they have such a huge region. But the main group that have landed have been of the Gurkish themselves, which are always called like his legion. But at the front of this vanguard comes Mamun, thrice blessed and thrice cursed.
I know the names.
I know the names. He calls himself the arrogant worm.
He is, which is actually pretty significant, since obviously Khalul's been holding back the Eaters, and now they're like leading an army, which is super terrifying. Because if I was like any kind of Union force, I'm like, we can try to stop them or slow them down, and then Mamun is like, I'll vaporize you.
Right. Because Khalul's not gonna go with them. He's chilling. He's staying. He's staying in Starkant. But yeah, like you said,
it's the equivalent, the same as a medieval army coming up against another medieval army, but that medieval army is led at the front of it is a M1 Abrams.
M1 Abrams. That's hilarious. Oh yeah, and you always suggest to him, right? Hey, Mamun is really, really strong now, and he has 100 words with him. All the meters, they're here for you. so you want to like get out of here? And Baya's like, no, I will I will not do any such thing. And Yue asks if he found the seed. He says no, and Yue goes, "Whew, really happy about that because that's some crazy shit. We don't want to open that one right there. We don't. And what did I tell you?" And at this point, Pharaoh gets a little fed up because she was promised vengeance. No one has delivered her vengeance, so she kind of just says, "Fuck this."
She just fucking kicks the. She does a fighting. She's like, hey, and just.
Yeah. And I love how Baez just goes, "Couldn't you have just knocked?" and then you're always like, "Pharaoh, it's so good to see you."
It's coming.
Yeah, that's it. When are the Gurkha's coming?
It's like, oh, I see you haven't learned patience yet.
Learned it, ran out of it. When are they coming? Oh God.
Gotta love Pharaoh.
Yeah, and then basically Pharaoh goes,
Someone should stop them.
Stop
Is what
them.
she said.
Yeah, and then Baez goes, "Well, you speak my thoughts."
He's such a conniving little bastard. He's like, oh, at first he's like, oh, you could have just knocked. Oh, you want to fight? Okay, perfect. Yeah. I need you totally.
Yeah,
everyone needs you. Who else can stop them?
Your look has changed. I promised you vengeance, and now it drops in your lap. Look at that! Oh, look at me.
All according to plan.
Yeah. So you want to get over there? And she goes, "Oh yeah," and she starts smiling to the point where her cheeks are aching. And that's the end of that chapter, and that's the end of part 1 of Last Argument of Kings.
Yay!
Yay!
The tiny little bits here at the end is they say that Midderland is 2 weeks away. That the army that the land of the Gurkhas are 2 weeks away. I have not done the calculations on this, but I'm going to. I'm going to come back next week when we do the spoiler episode. Now I know it's hard to tell.
Well, George, you might have an answer though.
Let's hear, George.
It's significantly slower for an army than it is for, a group of people up to, like 50 people. Because you need to move your supply train, you need to move everything along with you. So 2 weeks, you can cover 10 miles in a day on foot comfortably.
Mm-hmm.
So
140 miles?
140 miles might be a good guess.
Okay. So not so far away, but something around that, you think?
Yeah, I'd say so. Well, they've got fucking siege engines and stuff as well, probably.
Right, and he says they might be at the city gates within 2 weeks. They might be.
And they have their group of their force is made up of a whole bunch of different smaller armies.
Right.
So it would be even harder to move.
Right, but you also have to remember they're probably good. They're first going to send out scouts, then they're going to send out their initial force that kind of starts the siege, and then they bring up the rest of the army. I would assume.
Yeah.
So it's probably in kind of like a staggered approach in a way. So yeah, 100. What you think 140 miles away? Just about, George?
I mean, if you judge by the maps, and again, like Harrison said, don't always go by the maps because they're not like officially endorsed.
Right.
So, if you compare like Midland to like the UK, and the UK is like what, like 500 miles from north to south. I don't actually know that. I don't know the length of my own country.
Okay.
What we're gonna do is we're gonna study this when we do the spoiler episode next week. That's when we're gonna figure it out.
That's right. There you go.
We have a measurement. We're gonna use it.
There you go. All right. That's what we'll do. But in the meantime, what do you guys rate the chapter? To be honest with you, it's short. I mean, it's funny as fuck with the whole Giselle Therese thing, and then Pharaoh, busting down the door like she's the police in Oakland or something. But I'll give it a 4 out of 9.
I'm gonna give it a 5 just because we see Yule again, and I do like Yule.
I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 9.
Jesus Christ. Okay.
Because I really like I said, I really like this description and like how we set up like with Giselle and his state of mind. I don't know why. I just really enjoy this chapter. Pharaoh's hilarious. We get some exposition from Yule, and in my mind, this is like a major step in the story. We kind of like forgot about the Gurkish, and apparently so did the Union. They're like Dany inside of Game of Thrones. So like, oops, forgot about that. Because like you're busy thinking about the North and yay they won, and then boom, the Gurkish landed. Not with just like a few troops, but like thousands and thousands. Oh, and the Broncos are on their side now too. Oh yeah, and that's like a super powerful place inside of Midderland. Oh yeah, and they'll be at the city gates in 2 weeks. Oh yeah, and the army's all the way up in the north. Whoopsies. Hope we'll figure that out. Oh, also we don't have the seed, and my moon has its 100 words. Like it escalates the story. It escalates the story, and I remember first reading this, I was like, whoa, this changes everything, and it does. It does. This is like a big event, and I like it for that reason, because it doesn't happen that often. I feel inside of this story overall that there's a massive event that happens that really changes how everything plays out from then on. But
right. I'd also like to point out as well that Glockter tried to tell Archlector Salt that this was going to happen.
Yeah, right.
At the beginning of the book. And he's just like, no, we've got more things to think about.
You're silly.
There haven't been foreign soldiers on the Midderlands forever.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys for that. So let's move on to our final segment, our community interaction segment. Harrison, you want to take it away?
Yeah. So user on Reddit, Winu19, Winu19. He posted some polls on Reddit last week, which is when we were supposed to do the podcast. That's on me. I know. Don't say anything, Jeff. I know whose fault it is. And he voted. He put some polls of like back to back, basically just kind of on everybody's favorite books overall. And first one he did was favorite standalone. We've kind of talked about this in the past, but it's been a while, and it's a popular topic. So put out the poll, and the Heroes won with 248 votes, followed by Best for Cold with about 50 less votes, and then Red Country at only 100 votes.
What a tragedy.
Is Red Country your favorite of the standalones, George?
I wouldn't even say it's my favorite, but the fact that it's that many people's favorite, like the least amount, that's pretty crazy to me.
Which one's your favorite, Jeff?
That's not fair. I love them all. They're so good. Although Red Country does have a special place in my heart because I love westerns, and it's a western. But I also love war movies, and so is the Heroes, and I love revenge Tarantino-esque thing. I love them all. It's not fair.
Okay, George, you?
Honestly, it's the hardest one to answer. The standalones are the most consistent in terms of
for sure
how good they are.
I agree as well. It's very hard to choose. It's like those ones are like whenever you're reading them. I would say I like Red Country less than the other two, but like there are scenes in Red Country that's some of my favorite in the entire series. But Heroes is like the best literature wise, but Best of Cold is like the best actual standalone. Like you can really just read it by itself entirely, and I really appreciate that it's one contained story. So, it's hard to choose, but it makes sense that the community likes the Heroes the most because it really is so well written, and it does have a major impact on the rest of the story. So, it makes
Plus,
sense.
it has the best non-POV character who's wearing a blind. Look, people
Next up is he said yesterday to the standalones, today the first trilogy. There's about the same number of votes, and Blade itself had the lowest at 72, and then before they're hanged at 200 votes, and Last Argument Kings won by a fairly firm 200 to 79 votes, which makes sense because obviously this is like the finale of the trilogy. I would say Last Argument Kings.
I do think a lot of people have only read the trilogy like once as well. So if you actually take them just like that, I'd say that's a very logical conclusion to come to. But I reckon before they're hanged.
Oh yeah, and we know many people feel that way about before they're hanged.
That's true. A lot of people do feel that way.
So did Win Ooh. It looks like he did comment in there like, "Oh, I thought some of them would be, some of them were gonna be different. I thought Before They're Hanged was gonna be higher up just because it's like the first book. But let's be honest, I think everybody in the fandom would agree that The Blade itself is probably Joe's weakest book, just because it's his first. Really, you could just tell it's slower the way he builds it up. But good book. But It's the one we all have to tell our friends that just read the first book and then read the second one, and then you'll be hooked.
Yeah, I swear, bro, it gets good.
Yeah. Then next up, he did the third trilogy, the Age of Madness. Got less votes. It's not as popular of a series. I still think a lot of people haven't read it, which is fine. In terms of that one, this one is interesting because instead, the Trouble with Peace got highest vote, 157. Little Hatred had 69, and Wisdom of Crowns had 118. Makes perfectly logical sense, especially based off the community. The Trouble with Peace is my favorite book in this series, but the community definitely had a more negative, not overall perhaps, but a more negative side for Wisdom of Crowds. So it's always going to do worse in these.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of controversy with Wisdom of Crowns. I don't know why Little Hatred gets so little love there though, because I actually really like Little Hatred.
I think it just gets overshadowed. The Trouble with Peace is like.
It is fantastic. That is true.
Yeah.
Finally, the last poll was, out of all three trilogies, which one is your favorite? Which is obviously the first trilogy, Standalones and Age of Madness, and they are in that order. 261 votes for First Law trilogy, 173 votes for its Standalones, and 76 for the Age of Madness. For me, it's whichever one I'm in. Honestly.
Yeah. I mean, it is exactly that. Like, I've been reading the First Law trilogy. I've been, oh my god, this is so good. This is so much better than the rest. And then I've been reading, I've been halfway through the Heroes, and I've been like, oh my god, the Standalones are so good. This is so much better than the rest. And it's like, oh.
And honestly, I feel the same way with Age of Madness in lots of points. I felt the same way the first time I read it, and now the second time I'm reading it, because now I know the end story, and just like with Last Argument of Kings, when you go back and read the Blade itself, all the foreshadowing and setup and narrative, it's all there, and it's even better in Age of Madness because Joe is he's just a better writer at this point, and so his setting up and his theming and foreshadowing is fucking phenomenal in Age of Madness. So, Jeff, do you have any thoughts on that? Do you have a favorite of them? I'm pretty sure you like the first trilogy more.
Man, again, you're asking to choose between the original trilogy and the standalones.
I didn't pick. I just said I like them all.
I to be honest with you, to me, like Age of Madness. Okay, Joe's technical writing ability vastly improved. Absolutely. Not my favorite trilogy. Easily the weakest of the three for me. Sorry. Age of Madness, whatever.
I mean, you're with the consensus there, so.
Have you read this? Have you read the Age of Madness trilogy again since you finished it the first time?
Oh shit! You know what? I haven't. Because
give it another try. I think you might feel different about it.
After I read it, that's when we basically started the podcast. That's when I started.
Right. Yeah.
Huh.
I don't think I like it more than the others, but I think it's definitely on par, just in a different way.
I just mean the enjoyment. Like, I enjoyed the other two trilogies. I appreciated Age of Madness, the leaps, like by the standalone trilogy, by the Great Leveler, you could tell he's in his groove. So, Age of Madness, he's more. It's not like he made the leaps. I feel like he made the leap in Last Argument Kings and then standalones. Then I think in Age of Madness, he's making it tight. But in terms of really just falling into the pages, Age of Madness doesn't do it for me. It just doesn't do it. I remember reading, especially Wisdom of Crowds.
I think
like huge chapters, and I'm just like not falling asleep, but I'm just like zoned out. I'm like, what the fuck? I just it didn't grab me. It didn't grab me.
You should definitely listen to the audiobook for Age of Madness.
Yes, absolutely.
I'll try.
Because the voices again, like they do give a lot more. But what was I gonna say? I think you're right, Jeff, in that the Age of Madness does kind of suffer from a little bit of sequelitis, just a tiny little bit, where you kind of feel like it's treading a little bit of the same ground, even though Joe's doing it in a way that absolutely appeals.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't tell if it was recycling of characters, but he does that in like pretty much every other book, and I enjoyed it. I don't know, but maybe, possibly. Like, I didn't enjoy Broad at all.
I actually love Braun, so I don't know.
We'll get back to it. I guess we're
Yeah.
gonna get to the
They'll
end of
get
that.
to it in like a year.
I just can't tell, or maybe I kind of got the feeling, is there like an agenda here, like a political agenda? I don't like that necessarily too much. I don't know. I don't know. I didn't enjoy it too much, but I want to try it again. I definitely want to try it again because I love Savine. Savine was dope. Finry, anytime I see Finry, she's awesome. Orso, obviously. Anytime Glockter kind of makes an appearance, we see Dogman. Rika was dope. Although Rika was it the second book or the third book it was the third book. Oh, okay, it was the third book. I was just kind of like, that was way too convenient for the plot. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I gotta read it again.
Well, whenever we get to it, or when you read it again, just have an open mind, and we'll see what happens.
I will do so.
And that's all, folks.
That's a show, everyone. We want to thank you all for listening and supporting this podcast. As you all know, this is a passion project for the three of us, and your support really does mean a lot.
Join us next week as we cover a special spoiler episode.
And make sure you follow us on social media. We're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, and we have a website. It's circleoftheworld.com.
And if you haven't already, please subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or any podcast app that you use. And please make sure to rate and review. Thank you all again for listening.
I'm less now that he's gone. So we're all here.